So exercises like this, and I'll show you the regressions and progressions in just a second, it's one of the missing links for that patella tendon to get it nice and springy and to decrease the risk of things like jumper's knee. Because what does jumper's knee comes from? That comes from spring loads. So a lot of people get really strong, but they don't know how to actually progress into plyometrics, so they do all their weight room work and then they go back into jumping. And because that tendon has no spring tolerance, we get the same injury. So I like to really just isolate the point of reversal, right? And you can even start this assisted. So if that causes pain, you can always come in here and deload your body weight by holding onto something or holding onto bands. And most of us would be able to do this pain-free. And so I don't even care about triple extension, right? I don't care about this. I don't care how high you're getting. I want to isolate the point of reversal. So look at your jump angles. So let's say you jump from a 90-degree angle on a 2-foot approach jump. Well, I could get to around that same angle, come to the balls of the feet, and I can just isolate that point of reversal. And gradually over time, I get that point of reversal a little bit quicker and a little bit quicker. And then I go, hey, I had no pain. And then also 24 hours after that session, I still had no pain. Well, cool, let me go maybe unassisted and work there, all right? I'm getting a little bit more forces through that tendon now, and then I still have no pain. And now I can start to extend a little bit more because now I'm hitting that box with a little bit more speed and a little bit more force. And so that's more requirements on that tendon for that spring load. And then I just gradually start to get higher and higher from there. And look at how we just snuck up on that tendon that maybe hated spring loads, and we just gave it graded exposure, and we gradually got that tendon used to storage and release. So normally when we talk about extensive plyos, we're talking about like this kind of stuff, where it's really an isometric at the knee, which is unbelievable for injury reduction, but it is a little bit more ankle dominant. So that missing piece is a lot of people do strength training where they get a knee bend and they get their knees stronger, but it's just not always the right type of strength that is going to directly translate. And we do a lot of springy stuff with the ankles, which is great, but you also got to do graded exposure, low-level extensive plyos, knee dominant. So something like that, even something like a little squat jump, where you're just pulsing up and down around those 90-degree angles or around the bottom of where your jump would be. I could just pulse at those angles and I don't even have to jump that high. I could take it long duration. Typically anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute is a good starting point as long as you're pain-free. And then we can just gradually ramp it up and make it a little bit more intense each session as long as you're doing it pain-free. And 24 hours after, we have to be pain-free, because pain is actually kind of confusing during the session. I can get into something and get this analgesic effect, and so it doesn't actually hurt. But then the next day, 24 hours later, obviously when that analgesic effect is gone, now that tendon really starts to hurt. So that shows me I actually went too fast. I progressed too fast, too early. So then we would scale it back. But I do think that most people have a starting point. You can start with jumping somewhere. And as a side note, sort of unrelated to this, I think that jumping should be a goal for almost everybody if you want to casually pop in a basketball game, if you want to go play with your kids. Obviously, as an athlete, we need to be able to handle the forces during jumping and running, and so that's why we need that spring loading through the tendons. But I think it's super underrated just for like the average person who's going and doing their fitness stuff and doing all this strength training, but then they also want to occasionally pop in a game or play defense on their kid or go run around, because these are fast, springy actions, running, cutting, jumping. And so we're exposing those tendons to the spring forces, and that's where a lot of the injuries will come from. So if that's your goal, I think you should get back into jumping, but you got to find that pain-free level where you can do it, where we're assisted and we're doing that lowest level regression, and then we just gradually ramp it up from there. Let's build.